On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, El Segundo Little League has done it. They have won the Little League World Series. I reported on this show with confidence that Curacao would be your champion in the Little League World Series this year. The lie detector determined that was a lie. Carl Ravitch said that Curacao would not give up a home run in the Little League World Series. The lie detector said that was a lie. They gave up a home run immediately. Did you see this, TJ, by the way? Did you see the clip where Carl Ravitch...
Yeah,
I doubt you're watching the game.
Announcer's jinx.
Oh my God, an insane announcer's jinx. Great game. We have Rico Bosco joining us for the next 3 hours to break it all down. What was the moment that he felt like the kids were being the softest on each team? What were the umpire decisions he had? I'm kidding. We're not doing that. I wouldn't. Nothing against Rico. Like, I enjoy Little League World Series content. I'm just not that stupid to do two Little League shows in such a short span. But an all-time classic Little League World Series championship game. So shout out to El Segundo. I guess I delivered one more championship to California before I got out of there. You know, like, this is another. I lived in Southern California for 4 years. I produced 4 champions. El Segundo Little League, the Lakers, the Dodgers, and the Rams all won championships. This was my final parting gift to Southern California. You guys are welcome. Now it's Chicago's turn. We're going to deliver a championship to Chicago. Just you wait and see. Also going on in the world of sports, the FIBA World Cup that nobody cares about. Boy, nobody cares about this. No, I mean, I knew it. Like, I was joking with Sam about it when we had him on, and every time I've talked about it, I keep like the insecurity bubbles up where it's like, why am I talking about this? Nobody really cares. But boy, people care even less than I thought they would. This is just like an event that is not moving the needle whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. France was eliminated, for those who obviously don't know because nobody's watching this. Canada looks really fucking good, by the way. I think USA, Canada, just watch that. That's all I'm asking. If we play Canada in the final, I don't think that's too much to ask. If we end up playing Canada in the final and the court is full of NBA players, there's 10 NBA players on the court playing against each other, and it's USA versus Canada for a gold medal, I think that's a fair ask that people watch. I don't know. We'll see. But the United States is, I think we're looking all right. I think people are falling in love with our second unit a little, which tends to happen. You know, I think the second unit comes in and is playing like teams that aren't as deep, and Austin Reeves. What am I doing? Nobody cares about this. I did it again. I'm talking about something nobody cares about. On today's show, we got Hank join us. Hank Lockwood, producer of the #1 sports podcast in the world. It is called Pardon My Take. I became fascinated with Hank's story because I just started like watching. I right before we talked about it in the interview, but right before I sat down to the interview, I was like watching all the shit from like when he started at Barstool, and it was cracking me up because he's almost unrecognizable both physically and like how he looks is like comical. But then like the way he's treated around the office is like polar opposites now to when it was. But Hank, I saw he tweeted over the weekend that he was looking to add he wants to be a fan of a Big Ten school. I also thought on the heels of me skipping the 20th anniversary award show, and then I saw Hank tweet this, and then I started like looking into Hank's background more, and I was like, I gotta have Hank on the show. I've never really actually like talked. I don't know Hank as well as I thought I did. I go on PMT all the time. I see him in the office all the time. I talk to him all the time. Never really had a conversation of substance. Decided to have him on the show. We talked for like an hour about how he got started here and how he's, how he became producer of Pardon My Take. Just basically his backstory and then we argued about the Celtics at the end, and it was fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. So we're going to do that, and then we'll have some shout-outs at the end of the show and talk about some other stuff. But for the most part, this was a conversation with the one, the only, Handsome Hank, as he used to be called. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they used to call him Handsome Hank. I should have asked him about that. But, Hank Lockwood. All right, I'm here with Hank Lockwood, who is the what is your title, by the way, at Barstool? What is your official title?
I think technically I'm a SVP of development, which is just a self-made title that I invented.
You're saying with the biggest smirk on your face.
Well, it's a preposterous title.
It kind of is, yeah. Are you my boss?
No, I'm no one's boss. So I made up.
You're not.
I made up the head of development role. It wasn't a role that existed, so I kind of just decided what my title was, and then I have gone out of my way to make sure I'm not people's bosses, except for like some of the PMT production guys.
So you are people's boss. You just said I'm nobody's boss.
Well, no, like content people. Like the production, obviously that was my upbringing. I can actually speak to them and coach them and understand what they're going through, the content stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's not my lane.
Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent. Part of and we'll talk about this eventually, but like part of I wouldn't call it a struggle, but like part of the learning curve of since I've gotten to Barstool is when I came here, and TJ and I have talked about it. I have dipped my toes in the Barstool world many times. Obviously, I've been coming on PMT since you guys launched the show. I am not fluent in Barstool history. And so like working here, I feel like I've cannonballed into these new waters, and I'm trying to figure it out. Part of that, I've known you for a while, and then it dawned on me that like I actually don't really know you. Like that, I don't actually know. Like to me, you were just the guy that was working with the Pardon My Take guys. And every time I saw you, I was just like, yeah, that's the guy that produces Pardon My Take. What's up, Hank? What's up, Hank? And then since I've started working here, there've just been little nuggets here and there where people would talk. And then I think like watching the 20th, the award show kind of like made me look at, I don't mean this bad, but like look at you in a different light. I was like, oh shit, like Hank, yeah, there probably was like this whole life that Hank had at Barstool before I ever met the guy. So all of that is to say, I went back and like did my research, and you have an insane story to me. You have an absolutely insane story. How did you actually get into this company in the first place?
I went to college for 1 year, realized I was terrible at school. Already kind of knew that in high school.
What were you majoring in?
Creative writing, but it was like, that was just,
it was just, yeah, you're just like a freshman.
The easiest path.
Like, yeah.
And then I realized, I did some like fuck around with my buddies in high school and like film stuff. I had a flip camera, realized I was into that, and had the moment of realization, which probably should have happened like my junior year of high school when they're like, hey, think about what you want to do in your career. I was like halfway through my first year semester. I was like, oh, there's schools that you can go for like film study and like filmmaking and stuff. I was like, fuck, I want to go there. I had no grades, no experience, so I couldn't like transfer there. I had to get some experience. Found a 1-year film program, which was like a certificate program for like everyone in my class was just like for like shooting weddings and stuff like that. Yeah. It was basically like a 1-year boot camp, but that was going to get me enough experience to transfer to like a USC or Emerson or whatever. And then in the summer in between going to like Emerson, I saw a video of Dave. He was running for mayor, and he was like, it was in the office. He was running for mayor, and he was like, I'm running for mayor of Boston. Like, if you want to help the campaign, if there's anything you can do, reach out, let me know. And I was like, dang. Like at the time, I was applying for other like summer jobs. I was literally sitting at a computer, like in my school, like filling out applications on like Craigslist or whatever, like just trying to find a job for the summer. And I was like, oh my God, like this is it. Because my school, part of the tuition is like they teach you stuff for a year, and then for a year after they have all the equipment, sound, lighting, cameras, and part of the tuition you can use and like rent that equipment out for a year.
Oh, okay.
So my pitch was like, I'll work for free and I can provide all the equipment.
And I'll bring the equipment. And okay. So that's and then they just like what you were hired as an intern? You were brought in as like a what
weird haircut Seth. So weird haircut Seth in the video. The what an idiot, what a fucking idiot, weird haircut Seth. Like when he tried to play football.
Yeah.
That was who they told me to apply, and I had an email which obviously we brought up on PMT where I like misspelled a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I sent that email like just every day. Like I just copy and pasted it, sent it again. So I never even spell checked it. I like literally was just sending it to him over and over again. Finally, like Gaz called me. He was like, oh, we have a shoot tomorrow with Todd McShay. Like, can you come help? Edit it basically. And then I showed up and he was like, we need, how are we setting this up? What are we going to do? Like, we need you to like, I was like shitting my pants because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And then, so yeah, I just basically was working underneath Gaz as an intern for like 6 months.
And now now you are an integral part in the #1 sports podcast. And I guess that's what's like so fascinating to me is that I think you and you alone, I don't even know who the close second would be. When I watch old stuff that you're involved in and I see you now, it's like almost, I'm not talking like physically unrecognizable. I mean, like your role almost, and like the way, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Like when you walk around this office, that you have the respect of like everybody in this office. You have like, that's why I honestly thought you're like, maybe my boss. Like I thought there's a world where like
people,
but it's because like you carry yourself in such a way that I think everybody respects you. You're held in such high esteem that it is like actually shocking for me to go back and watch you being like duct taped to a wall. And I don't know. And even like when I go back and watch like old stuff from Dave, he's still, like everybody changes a little bit in some ways, but it's still like, yeah, that's the same sort of guy. And Dan's the same way. Everybody like sort of feels the same way. You feel like you're completely different. Do you feel that as well? Do you feel like you have changed immensely in the last, 10 years now?
Yeah, I think 10 years. I mean, I basically, there was like an exact moment where it happened, which is kind of nice to be able to like the bookend, old me, new me, like, because I was 19 when I started. I was a fucking idiot, like just a shithead, like absolute shithead. Had no idea what I was doing, just like fucking around. And I was like, oh, I'm working at Barstool. Like I didn't, I obviously took the job seriously, but I also didn't have any perspective of like, oh, this is going to be my career. Like this is a great opportunity. I was just like having fun with it, doing dumb shit. And then Dave, like basically at one point I asked for a raise like a couple years in, and he was like, we don't pay you because like you're good at your job. Like it's funny when like you fuck up and I yell at you, like people like it. But that like hurt me, but also was kind of like an ego check of like, all right, I got to get good at my job, whatever. But I also kind of played into it. It was like, oh, well, I can just fuck up. It doesn't even matter. Like that's the whole thing. And then me and Caleb did like the Dixie tour. So we were on the road, living on a bus, touring like the South. And Dave like yelled at me for something. Like Caleb made a decision. Dave took it all out of me, like he was screaming at me. He's like, you never cease to fuck up. Like you never cease to like amaze me how bad you fuck up. And I was just rattled at that point. I was like 22. And I kind of had the moment of like, all right, I think I'm going to leave. Like I've done it to myself. I've put myself in the situation of being a fuck up, and like people are always going to think I'm a fuck up.
Yeah.
It's no one's fault but my own. But the only way to get out of it is like to leave, because like I'm never going to be able to like shake this. So I like made up my mind. There was like 2 weeks where I was like, once this tour's over, I'm quitting, or like I'm leaving. Like I'm gonna probably try and go back to school, whatever. I'm still kind of young. Like we were at all these schools. Like it was so fun. There were so many girls. It was like, oh, I can just go back to college. Like I'm 22. Like being a 22-year-old sophomore is not that crazy. And we did a like Mets Cubs World Series where we were in New York, and then we drove the bus to Chicago. Kevin, Dan were on it with like me, Caleb, and Ben, and like. Caleb and Ben drove the first shift. We slept. We woke up at like 5 a.m. and did the like 5 a.m. to Chicago shift. And I told Kevin and Dan, obviously, because they were like the OGs, I was like, I think in a couple months when this leaves, like I'm gonna leave. Like it is what it is. Just want to let you guys know. And that Big Cat literally told me, he's like, I think you should stay. Like this guy Peter Chernan's, and because they had issues with Dave too. Like there was a lot of drama. Like they were always kind of fighting.
Yeah.
I'd go on the road and Big Cat would kind of tell me like his issues with Dave or whatever. So I thought it was going to be like a relatable, like, oh, I figure you guys will understand this. And Big Cat was like, no, things are changing. This guy, Peter Chernan's going to buy the company. We're going to move to New York. And like, I'm going to start a podcast with PFT that I want you to help with.
Wow.
And after that, it was like, that's where I kind of had like the second chance where I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this now, I'm going to take it way seriously. Like I'm going to go all in and just like work my way out of the reputation. And that's kind of how it played
I mean,
out.
One of the videos I think I stumbled across was in prepping for this, or like learning your backstory and all that sort of thing, was like a video that was like going through the interns at Barstool through the years, and I didn't recognize anybody else. Like, and it just stood out to me that at this company there's so many just characters that pop in. Like you said, you're kind of like maybe a circus character in some way, and then inevitably you flame out and you were the flavor of the month and you go away. And I guess like that's what's so crazy about you, is that like not only are you obviously super successful at this point and you have reinvented yourself, but just like for you to step into a world where like this just simply doesn't happen, where like nobody, I don't know. I don't know everybody who worked here, so I don't know if there are other examples of this. But like that's just like it is like shocking to go back and watch and think about like the guys that work here now, if they were in the role that you were in then, and the idea of like someday them being the producer of the number one, So I guess like, do you think the humble answer is that you're just lucky, but like what? So obviously, let's just go with that as the official narrative. But now let's be real. How did you pull this? Like, what skill do you think you have? It was just simply that, because I imagine there are other people that are like, I'm sick of being Dave's punching bag. I'm sick of being not taken seriously. I'm sick of, God damn it, why won't Dave respect me? And I'm sure they had that same approach, and they're not here anymore, or they still are like a punching bag, or they still are like the person they were when they got to the company. Do you think there's something like inherent about you that was like, I'm going to be different, I'm going to make this work? Or do you think it was just like pure luck that like everything bounced your way?
It's mostly luck. It's a large percentage luck. I was able to laugh at myself when I would get like, shit on. I never took myself too seriously. I never thought of myself as like a personality or like someone that wanted to be in content. So it was like, oh, like I literally for, again, those first like 3 or 4 years, it was like, well, at least I'm still getting paid and this is fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like I get shit sometimes. Dave, 95% of the time was great, funny. Like I could talk to him. I talked to him all the time. And then like, he would kind of turn it on the camera and then he'd go like rogue and people would always be like, oh, Dave's such a dickhead to you. And it's like, he's really not. And usually when he's, yelling at me, like there's some level of like truth in me being a fuck up. So I never was like, this is unfair or whatever. So a lot of it was luck. And then a lot of it was really just the fact that, me and Dan got close. I think a lot of the other interns just had summer internships where they were like in college. They just showed up and didn't have stuff to do. When I started, which is the complete luck part, like, if I was a week early, a week late, it would have been someone else, and they would have taken it. But when I started happened to be right when Dave and Dan and Kevin were like, we're going to start doing more video content. So I was an intern, but I was the only one that knew how to like shoot video. Not that I actually did, but technically like I had, at least they would ask
on a resume that you could do it.
Of the people in the office, I had like the most somewhat understanding of stuff. So we were shooting a lot of videos and I was editing them all. So I was like, doing an internship, but it was a full-time job. So at the, after like 6 or 7 months, I was like, I'm working. I gotta like get another job or whatever. Cause I can't, live off $100 a week. And then I got a full-time job, but it was like an internship that was basically a full-time job. The luck part is that they had said that, if it wasn't me, they would have found someone else to shoot those videos. Right. And that person probably could have took the job. And then the other reason, like the thing that got me out was really just Dan. Like, back in those days, it was just Dave. We didn't really have like money or stuff. So when Dan had and we didn't have sponsors for videos. So if Dan had an idea for a video, we'd go on the road. We'd sleep in the same hotel room, like get like whatever, two queens, sleep in the same hotel room, and we'd just be together the whole weekend, the whole trip. And then we just got super close. So he would always kind of, have my back. Dave would be the good cop. Like Dave would be the mean dad. Big Cat would be the loving and nurturing mom. And he would always kind of like, when I would be like, I don't know, he would always have my back. And then obviously that relationship is what led to him wanting me to produce Part of My Take and stuff. But that is obviously, if that relationship doesn't exist, it's not like I would have got here without that.
Were you smart enough, cunning enough, whatever, to like identify that about Dan and the relationship you had with Dan? Or is this just like something now that you look back on and you say like, that was my ticket the whole time? Or like when you're in that moment, were you like, if I'm gonna succeed at this company and excel and grow and start to be taken seriously, I'm gonna have to do it by, not to say that you're like leeching on to Dan, but just basically be like, that's a guy that could be my path away from being Dave's punching bag? Or was it just something that like worked out that way and Dan just happened to like see something in you? And
yeah, I think it wasn't that, because like I said, I didn't have like career aspirations the first like 3 years. I was truly just like having fun with it.
Yeah,
we'd go on shoots and have fun. Like he was just a coworker. So we didn't have like not that we do now, but like he's obviously like number 2 in the company. It's very obvious. Like he's kind of in that like senior role. At the time it was Dave and then just all the other guys.
And everybody else. Yeah.
And I was, obviously I was low on the totem pole and he was higher, but like we were still just equivalent coworkers. And we were just close, but it was never, like I said, I didn't really have aspirations, and then I just kind of got fed up with it, and I was like, dude, I'm leaving, and he was like, no, I think you should stay. Like I want you to help with this show. But even with the show, like I had no idea, probably for like a year, how big it actually was. Like it was always, because like obviously Dave was good and the best, but sometimes would be frustrating to work with. I'd get shit on and like. It would be tough. Big Cat, we would shoot videos and we would be like very collaborative, talking back and forth. He would take my ideas, which I always appreciated. Like if I had an idea, he'd be like, all right, let's do it. Like, what do you think?
Wow. Yeah.
And then like we would go back and forth with the editing where I'd be like, all right, this is, here's a rough edit. Here are my notes. He would send back notes. So we were always just like very collaborative. So I always enjoyed like going on trips with him and like working with him, but I was never like, this guy's a fucking, like he was obviously super, super funny, but I never, in Boston and Massachusetts, Barstool was always huge.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Massachusetts knew what it was. So when I started working at Barstool, I was like, I'm working at the biggest company in the world.
Right.
I wasn't like, this company is going to, 100x or whatever it is. I already thought it was there. So I was like, Big Cat's a superstar. I'm working, but I was never like, he's gonna become like the number one sports
which is funny because I had the exact opposite perspective when I got into the part of my take universe, like episode 4 or whatever, when they needed a March Madness guest, and I've told this story on PMT, but I'll say it again. Like I said yes to the ask because of PFT. I didn't know I knew what Barstool was. I knew of Dan. I didn't follow him on anything. I didn't know what I didn't know anything about him. I just knew him as like one of the faces of those guys. There's a lot of Twitter accounts out there that say Barstool in them. His is one of those. I knew nothing else about him. I knew very little about Barstool in general. I just knew that PFT had gone to Barstool and had started the show, and he had asked me to come on, and I was like, I'm going to do it just because I want to see what PFT's face looks like. That was it. I want to see the face of the guy running this Twitter account, and it's like you said, it's like it's like flipped on its head for the Boston people because Barstool is like the biggest thing in the world. It's interesting that you said like you never wanted to be in content, but I think like I would say as someone who knows very little about it, but just piecing this all together, that feels crucial to me that like you go into this company not wanting to be in front of the camera per se, which I feel like for any younger people watching this, listening to this, that is my number one piece of advice. If you want to break into media, I think everybody working at Barstool and other media companies can smell it right away when a kid is hired to be like a PA and you get there and you're just like desperate to be on camera. And it's like, we didn't hire you to do that job. That time will come. We'll give you reps at some point, whatever, but do your fucking job. And when you earn the right, then we'll do that. And I do feel like you're probably very, very good at that, of like being like, I'm here to do this. I'm going to do this. And as the opportunities have come, you've never like bit off more than you were supposed to.
No, and that was Dan too. Like, cause obviously I was a little bit. I knew my reputation. I knew like if I would say stuff or do stuff, like it was gonna be like not a negative reaction, but like, oh, this kid's such a fucking idiot, like blah 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 blah. And when we were doing the show, obviously when me and Dan would shoot stuff, I was just behind the camera editing the videos. I wasn't like involved in the videos per se. So when the podcast started, he was like, no, I want you to speak up. We'll have like the hot seat cool throne or like the explain to Hank's like. Just be yourself. So I knew Big Cat knew me. Like I knew he wasn't expecting me to like be giving good takes or like whatever. So I knew I could just like say I knew like
he
obviously
knew me. He knew I had no good takes.
Well, no, yeah, I knew it was like I was just trying to be funny. Like that's always kind of been how I was growing up. Was just like trying to make my brother laugh, trying to make my friends laugh. That's kind of been the same thing where it's like I don't care about being taken seriously per se.
Yeah.
If I can get a laugh or like say things for effect that like will get people going, like I don't mind.
Has that changed as you've gotten older and as you've become a little more? I don't know if mature is the right word because mature feels a little too pretentious. I don't think you need to be mature. I think you can be very immature throughout your life. I don't see the point in being mature, but a little more reserved. I think the way you carry yourself around this office is probably a little more. Are you still game to be duct taped to a wall and shit? Like, are you seeking out those opportunities like that, or like where's your headspace with that? Like, are you trying to be as you're trying to be taken more seriously, and we're in this new iteration of Hank, but also like you work at a company where it's like chaos at all times. Yeah, like where do you fall with that? Because you still are sort of like I don't know, troll's the right word, but you're a foil, I guess we'll say, on PMT in a lot of ways. Like, how is that something you consciously think about? Or no, you just
no. Even with the podcast, I always knew my importance to the podcast was everything behind the scenes. The shooting, editing, helping book guests. Like I took that very seriously, and Big Cat and PFT always knew that, and we always had very serious discussions when they needed to be serious. But the podcast is just jokes, and again, it was I thought there was a point where they were like I was gonna get phased out. I even probably suggested it like. Because I wasn't like, oh, I love, saying dumb stuff on the podcast. It was just like, I like producing the podcast. I like doing all of the, the video. We used to shoot a lot more videos, and we didn't have guest bookers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the only editor and whatever. So it was like, I was very consumed with that all day, every day. And I always took that super seriously behind the scenes with people at the office. So I think that's where the reputation came, where it was like, obviously it's jokes on the podcast and people will see the clips and stuff, but anyone that's dealt with me behind the scenes, I think knows like I take it very seriously, and I'm like trying to do what's best for the podcast, and then overall the company as things have shaken out.
All right, can we pivot away? Because I'm sure you've talked about all that shit a million times, and I apologize to anybody that's like we've heard this from Hank. I had not, so that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Let's pivot to you saying you want to do things behind the scenes to help the company. I did not go to the 20th anniversary award show, Hank, and I don't want to blame you. I don't want to blame anyone else. I take full responsibility for how this happened. At the same time, this was not my fault. And what the hell? Why? How big of a fuck up was this on for me to not go to this thing? First of all, be honest. Be completely honest.
I don't think it's that big of a fuck
Okay.
up. I don't think it's. I think it's probably like a mid 5. Call it like a 5. I don't think. I think Dave and PFT is probably a good example of this too, and I would say Dave would agree with this, that Dave viewed PFT as just a hired gun. Like we need big people. We need the big personalities to grow. PFT viewed as a hired gun, but he didn't. I don't think probably till after BVT when he stayed and obviously like bought back in, did the other shows, did macrodosing, Pup Punk and stuff. Yeah. He kind of viewed PFT as a hired gun, but he wasn't a Barstool guy.
Right.
And I think you're probably still, Pat Bev was the same.
Was there. So now he's a made man. And
yes.
I'm not. Yes.
Correct.
That,
but
exactly,
that's not like that's, you can, as if you're a hired gun, as long as you're getting kills, like.
But I don't want to be a hired gun. So I guess this is my question to you is like, how do I, you shook your label. How do I, cause I feel this not only around this office where like I walked in the day of the award show and there were like 4 people here in Chicago. All 4 of them, like, I mean, they look like I walked in butt ass naked, and like the way they looked at me, they're like, like I heard gasps. Everyone was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I have a show to do," and they're like, "You're not in Boston?" And I was like, "Oh no, this is bad," because I thought the Chicago guys, Eddie and Chief and Dave, like I didn't think they were going. Someone had told me that they didn't think they were going at some point, and then I brought that up to the people that were here, and they're like, "Oh no, they're going. They're definitely there." And anyway, so I feel it like in the office, Hank. I feel it. The Barstool fans who have been great to me, most of them. I love. I've dealt with Stoolies from going on PMT for years, so like I kind of knew how that was going to go. But there does seem to be this feeling that I'm on an island a little bit, and I don't want to be fully invested in this company, and I don't know how to shake that because my approach to stuff is I legitimately thought I was being polite by not going to this award show. I thought that my interpretation of this was that it was an event for like the OGs, the guys like from the Milton days to like reminisce. I felt like if the Denver Nuggets had signed a free agent in between when they had won the championship and had their parade for the championship, I felt like I was that free agent that was like, you didn't actually win this championship. You're not allowed to come to that would be kind of weird if you were on the parade float popping champagne with us. I did not think this was like a company-wide, every single person in the company. And this goes back to like not being fluent in Barstool history that as I was mentioning to people around the office, they're like, dude, remember the Duncan Awards when this, I was like, no, I don't remember the Duncan. I was like, I don't remember. And they're like, oh no, well, Dave, when people were, oh boy, you're in for it now. Oof, the Duncan Awards were, and I was like, what the fuck's the Duncan Awards? Somebody tell me what the Duncan Awards were. So anyway, I just feel like I won't lie. There's a little bit of an insecurity where it's like, I want not just for Dave, not just like, kiss ass to Dave, but just like in general, like I want to be bought in. I want to be in the fold, but it's hard when I have a show that I named after myself. I don't have a second chair on my show. For most of the time I've been working here, I've been remote in Los Angeles. I'll shut up now, but I just wanted to say, like, I need to get in the fold. I need to get in the fold, Hank, and I fucked this up by not going to the awards.
I really don't think you did. I think you're overthinking that. I think the Dave in general, it happens with a lot of people that don't maybe know him as well, like the Duncan Awards. The thing I learned when I was getting yelled at and like kind of shitting all the time is like there's an element of Dave where he likes it. You'll go back and forth, you'll yell at each other, and then you end, and it's almost like he's happy that it happened. Yeah. And he literally will blink and move on. Like the Duncan Awards, he yelled at people, and people are still rattled about it. But I think he left and didn't think about it again. Like, And I think if you went to the awards, it was a look back in the past. You weren't involved with any of the awards or the nominations or presenting, and you're not. Pat Bev was holding the camera and doing the dancing for Rowan.
Pat Bev made me look bad. Pat Bev, you made me look bad.
But you would have just showed up, sat at a table, and left. Like you might not have even known that you were there. It'd been like, oh, Titus was there, but it wouldn't have been. You wouldn't have had the impact. Pat Bev,
yeah.
Going forward, though, to answer your question, which obviously it sucks, we still have to wait another month. But once we're in the new office, like the new office is going to be all collaboration, people working together. And that's where it's like if people are kind of stayed siloed, like if you go in the new office and you're still just doing, this show and mostly sports and then leaving, that would be probably an issue. But as long as, you're getting in the mix, we're going to have a lot of like the competitions and just putting yourself out there to do other stuff. That's how you kind of can show yourself.
I just feel like
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I know. That's my mom says you can't make old friends, Hank. You can't make old friends. You can only make new friends and then give it time. But I just feel
it's a great quote.
I just feel like I'm a fucking dork at the lunch table walking around with my tray, and I'm just like I don't know where to sit. So then I end up like being polite in my mind. I want it to be polite, so I'm like I'm gonna just like try to not rock the boat too much, and I'm gonna go sit over here. But then all the cool kids at the lunch table are looking over at me, and they're like, "Does that guy think he's better than us? Does that guy think?" And I get really insecure about that. And then the awards show, it came to a head where I was like, I really fucked this up. And I swear to God, I'm not worried about the Dave part of it. I have a 3-year contract, so like I'm not, like I'm not worried. I mean, I don't want Dave to be mad at me, but like that's not the motivation. The real motivation was just like, I don't want to be a hired gun here. I want to be bought in because that's part of I mean, I fucking moved across the country, like I want to be bought in, but also there've been a lot of missteps, a lot of unintentional missteps along the way. And I just, you're a pro at this. And I wanted to bounce this out. And I thought you were my boss, to be completely honest, before you told me you weren't. So
nope. Dave's still your boss. Great quote by your mom. I think to that, you're a hired gun until you're not. And the only way to kind of get out of that role is just, showing it over time. I think in a year, next September or next August, this won't be a conversation because you will have proven it by being in, various things.
Is it something I can do
stuff.
with like one moment? Is there like one moment in time that I can, or is this just like an accumulation, or maybe both? Or like, do you have a moment where you felt like you were in for good?
The duct tape on I thought I was getting fired every day for a year. I was going into the office being like, this is the day I get fired because I was, fucking stuff up. He was like, he's like, these aren't good. These videos suck. You're an idiot. I was, doing various dumb things where I was like, I probably deserve to get fired. Again, it wasn't like this is unfair. I was like, if I get fired, I'm not going to be like shocked and I'm going to leave, with my head tucked in my tail. So I thought I was getting fired every day for probably a year, and then the duct tape thing happened, and I was like, all right, this is job security. Like, he can't fire me. He can't fire me if you just duct tape me to a wall. Like, that buys me, that buys me some time. I proved myself. It was basically like a frat hazing of like, all right, like now I'm in. I feel a little more comfortable, at least for like the next 6 months to a year, as long as I don't fuck something up like catastrophically.
That's funny.
So that would be my buy-in moment. And then, the rebuy-in moment with that's where to me it was like that was young me, and then the rebuy-in with when PMT started where I was like, all right, I don't care what my reputation in the past is. I'm just going to take this as dead seriously as I can. Yeah. I'm moving to New York for this. Like, I'm not going to, have like I'm leaving all my friends and stuff behind. I'm not going to like try and, develop a social life or like do anything else. Like, I'm just going to go all in with this podcast and then, see what happens.
When did you realize PMT was your golden, not just your golden ticket, but all your guys' gold, like when did you realize like this is going to be what I'm doing for the foreseeable future or this might be what I'm known as the producer of the show and all that sort of thing?
Probably not for like a year. It was probably, I guess we did the Super Bowl Comedy Central thing, but even that was kind of a Barstool thing. We used to get numbers like the podcast reporting and the website we used. We had a guy who would give us the numbers, and it would be like 2 weeks in, and I think it was impressions. I still think it was impressions. He'd be like, you guys got 4 million downloads. Yeah. And we were like, that's just not true. That's not, obviously there's a 0% chance that's true. We have like 10,000 Twitter followers, and we get like a few, we get some engagements and stuff. I think the podcast numbers
in the early days were completely fucked because this was happening at the Ringer as well, where like there was a big time miscommunication of of numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just trying to stay, we were trying to stay at the top of the charts, but we didn't know what the context was for that. So it was always like, yeah, we're not, we're number one, that's good, but it wasn't like this is the biggest thing in the world.
What is number one mean? Like, is being the
Right.
biggest fish in the sports podcasting pond mean anything, or is it not? Like, at that point you're just kind of like, we're number one, but like, what does this even mean?
And we were gaming we thought we were gaming the comment and leave subscriptions.
Yeah,
we were trying to game the algorithm, so we didn't know if we were number one because of downloads, or we didn't know if we were number one because we just had a million reviews and
all
stuff.
the videos you'd retweet of the people at the Apple store going through each iPhone on display, subscribing and unsubscribing and subscribing again.
So that was our only metric of success, but we were also trying to game it, so we didn't know if it was actually because of numbers or what it was. We were just trying to stay at number one. I guess, I was, we had one sales guy in Boston, and he worked in New York for a couple of years. And at one point he like told me some of like the ad numbers, like what they sold per ad. And it was like, wait, we have 6 ads a show for 52 weeks. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Like I'm good. That's where I was like, if I'm producing this show, like they're like, I can do no wrong. They're not going to say anything to me because they need, this is the biggest thing going. Yeah.
It's funny because I was going on the show all the time, and I don't even think I fully understood. I knew you guys were number one. I knew that my first moment with feeling the impact of PMT was when I came up to Chicago actually for the 2016 NLCS when the Cubs were playing the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. And were you here for that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were here. I think Chaps was here too.
Yep.
Trill Ballins was here.
Yeah.
PFT was here. Yeah. My brother, I think, came up, and we all, or some combination of us, we sat in the bleachers for game one. But that when we went out to the bars and then went to and it wasn't just Dan, because like I knew Dan was like a Chicago guy or whatever, and people were wanting to talk to him or whatever. But when they were just like hounding at you guys too, I was like, oh, so because that's how you to me, like that's how you measure shit. It's just like the streets will tell you. The streets will tell you if you're popping off or not. And it's like you said, like you sort of gaming the algorithm and it's number one, but who the hell knows what number one sports podcast even means? And then when we went out, as I was with your group and we went to the bar and then went to the game, and just like we're in the bleachers and people are just hounding Dan and PFT, and I was like, oh my God, this is something. And then the one where I was like, these guys are like beyond what I even thought was we did the First Life episode when you guys came out to LA, and I had just moved to LA, and I got in the van with you guys. I think
at the grocery store,
and we went to the grocery store.
Yeah, that was nuts.
And you just one of you guys had tweeted like, we're going to this grocery, or were you doing like a promotion for one of the grocery?
It was like the sponsor. Yeah. The sponsor wanted us to do a meet and greet. I think it was Body Armor. Shout out Body Armor. They're like, you have to do a meet and greet in California. And then they just chose, that was like one of their distributors, grocery store. So they just chose it. And we tweeted it out the day before, and there was
guys were doing
500 people in the parking lot.
You were doing an interview close to my house, and then you were going back to like the house you'd rent in Santa Monica. So you were like, do you want to jump in the van? We'll go swing by the grocery, do this thing, pick up some food for, and then go back to the house and cook out and, do a pod and all this sort of shit. So I was like, yeah, I ride in the van with you. We get out at the grocery store, and I was just like, I was so fucking floored by like the masses of people. Because again, it's like Barstool to me was Boston. Dan was Chicago, so it's like you guys are getting wrecked. Like this sort of stuff made sense to me, that like we would go to Chicago and Dan Katz, the Chicago guy, would be hounded by Chicago people. But to be in LA, where like, frankly, I don't think Barstool really had much of a presence, or at least my impression of it at the time was like Barstool's not, as big as it is obviously on the East Coast, and yet that many people were showing up. I was like, this is next level shit here. So,
the crazy, anyway. Because that's the thing with, I guess it probably has helped with the, like staying humble or whatever. Like in Boston, it was the biggest thing. Everyone knew it. All the kids knew it. All the parents knew it. It was everyone, a large 90% of people in Boston were somewhat aware of Barstool. Dave wrote one blog when I was an intern with a picture of me. That was it. Like something, I think I fucked something up. He was like, look at this idiot or whatever. And it was just a blog, just a picture. And I went and I was 20, I think I was 20. I went to visit my friend at UMass because like during the weekend on college, I'd just go visit my friends that were at colleges. And I was we were just in the cafeteria eating, and like some kids came up to me, and I was like, what the fuck? Like that from one picture, like that blew my mind. And obviously, for the next 3 years in Boston, it happened a lot. So I was kind of used to that aspect of it. So that also curved the like realizing how big this was, because I was somewhat, used to people recognize me or whatever.
Yeah.
But when me and Caleb did the college tour, which is funny because obviously Caleb is now, one of the biggest superstars of the company. We would do the college tour and show up and just hope that there was like a frat kid that was from the Northeast that maybe knew me that could like get us into the frat and get us set up. And no one really knew Barstool. Like we would, be like, oh, we work for Barstool, and girls would be like, oh, like the Instagram account? Like that would be it because that just posted viral videos. And we went to LSU. That was kind of how it was. And then we went back a year or two later, and it was the same thing where we got mobbed. And that was like a good realization of 2 years ago. Yeah. We had a few people coming up, and now we have lines out the door, and everyone on campus knows us because the podcast and everything is nuts.
I asked PFT this, and I think I kind of broke his brain for a second, so I'm not even sure if it's a good question, but I'm going to ask you, and we'll see. Are you good at being famous? Or whatever you want to call what your level of notoriety is. Are you good at – do you think that, like do you feel like you handle it well, both like that your family would be proud of the man you still are through it all, and like do you feel like I don't know. Do you navigate that world well? Yeah. Some people don't. Some people get chewed up and spit out by it. And do you feel like you have a good handling on like going from a dipshit that applied for a job that you probably weren't qualified for to now being who you are, and you go on the street and people are hounding you?
I think so. I would think Dave, they've always set a good example of just, when people come up to you, talk to them, take a picture and stuff. I saw that and viewing them as actual, stars, seeing how they would deal with it.
Yeah.
And I always thought, if you want to take a picture with me, like that's crazy for you to want to take a picture with me, but I'll obviously oblige. I don't know what you're going to do with this picture. Like it's kind of weird. You even want to take a picture.
Why would you want a picture of me? Yeah.
But that's obviously, that's how we get paid, the supporters and stuff. So I'm always happy to take pictures, talk to people, and I think so. I think people.
What's your biggest diva moment in your life? What was about? Is there a moment you look back on and you're like, I can't believe I thought that? I don't know what an example would be. You tried to get into a club and you're just like, I should not have said, do you know who I am? I should not have. Have you ever tried to?
No.
There's nothing you regret where you're like.
Definitely drunk. When I would go to I do. There's definitely some, like, especially in the college days, especially when I was like not taking the job seriously, like, and I was 19, 20, 21. All my friends were in college, so every weekend I was going from like UMass, UNH, SNU, like Plymouth State, whatever. And we would go to bars and stuff. I'd be like fucked up, and people would come up and be like, "Let me buy you a shot." I'd be like, "You have to buy 10." Like, with all my friends, and like that is like cringe, like thinking back about it. But like that, like shit like that, I'd be like, "Oh, you want to buy me a shot? Like, you gotta buy 10." And they'd be like, "All right."
Well, it's all a matter of perspective. To the guys who are buying the shots, that's probably a douche move. To your friends, that's probably fucking sweet that you were thinking of them to get them shots as well. So it's all perspective. So you did not go to college. You did not graduate from college, and this was part of the reason I wanted to have you on the show. Not that you didn't go to college, but because
I didn't go to college. I didn't do any point of education.
You tweeted over the weekend that you need a Big Ten team. This is what made me realize I should have you on the show, because I wanted to talk to you about this, and it just took me 45 minutes to get to the point. But you tweeted that you need a Big Ten team, and my eyeballs lit up, and I was like, this is perfect. This is I want to help if you need help, but also I don't want to feel like I'm putting my thumb on the scale in any way. But I am a Big Ten. My mom went to Purdue. My dad went to Indiana. I went to Ohio State. Our whole family is Big Ten people. This is my life as Big Ten, and I want to help you with this, Hank. So like, give me an idea of where you're at right now in the process of trying to figure out what Big Ten school you're going to cheer for.
I have a completely blank slate. Grew up in the Northeast. College football didn't matter. Didn't care about college football whatsoever growing up. Started working at Barstool and started gambling a little bit, and maybe paid attention just for spreads and stuff, but never had a affiliation to a team. We had the LSU run. Obviously, that was like a good school for us in the Dixie Tour, so I would be like, oh, I love LSU. But I don't like really care that much about LSU. I'm not following them week to week or really supporting them. But if that was my team for a little bit. Moving to Chicago, obviously college football is very important. It's Big Ten country. There's a million bars in Chicago. And I'm old enough, not having a college football team, I kind of was thinking, like, I want to have something to root for. There's always these bars and fun events. Everyone always talks kindly about the Big Ten. So my thought was to just take the fall, use it open book, blank slate, go to different bars. Just, it doesn't matter who the team is, doesn't matter the reputation. Go to the bars, see how the people are, see the interaction, see how I enjoy myself, and then at the end of that run, just choose the school that I enjoyed and felt the biggest connection to.
This is a brilliant idea. This is for all the reasons you just said. The bar thing is, I'm so excited to just go to Ohio State bars, and it feels like there's a bunch of them in Chicago. There are a ton of Iowa bars. There are Iowa bars everywhere, and I live by all of them somehow. Like I could throw a football and hit like 5 different Iowa bars from my house. It's crazy. But that's a brilliant idea. Now, I just is this? It's a bar thing. You're not trying to incorporate campuses. You're not trying to. And I guess I should ask this first too. This is just football. This is not, because you're a Duke basketball guy.
I am a Duke basketball guy. So my dad went to Duke, and growing up, like, we had whatever rule in the house, can't watch TV after like 6 o'clock or something on the weekdays, something like that. But we could always watch all the Duke games.
Yeah.
So I was, I love that. Whatever day the game was, we could watch, the full Duke game. So I was, diehard Duke fan. Read all the books. Was all about it. My dad would always get me the merch for Christmas and stuff. But obviously, as I've gotten older, I've kind of realized the irony of my personality being a Duke fan. But my dad, so I know it was Duke basketball. My dad is not really he doesn't follow the team. He doesn't really care that much. So it's not something where we can did you watch the game? Like, he doesn't even really watch.
Did he used to? Did this start because
when we were younger, he used to coach us in basketball and stuff. So I think he was trying to stay in touch with the game. But I think he personally is not. He's just not. I think probably the one and done stuff. He just doesn't care.
He's
I don't think you can name one player.
So
on the
are
team.
you saying you might be transferring from Duke? Is this? Are you entering your name in the portal, in the basketball portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I can, I think the
There's
Big
a
Ten
world
school that could be both. Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean, that makes sense. Like if you got into Duke for your dad, and then your dad's not even into Duke, that does sort of feel weird that you would, I still obsess over the Indiana Hoosiers for my father, and I people think it's weird because I went to Ohio State, and they're like, why would you care so much about a rival in the conference? And I was like, I mean, I'll tell you, it's because my dad. I want to call my dad after we watch IU together, and I want to talk to him about it.
Yeah, that's the NCAA.
And that's it.
Duke could be in the if Duke was in the national championship, it's too late. He's not watching. He's waking up and seeing if they won.
So I'm putting myself in your shoes, and I'm like, if I called my dad was like, I don't care, I don't watch it, none of this matters to me. I'm not gonna care about Indiana anymore. So that makes sense. So yeah, what's your initial read on Big Ten schools? What's your vibes right now before you actually go on your official visits to bars?
I've been to Michigan a couple times. Had a lot
Are there
of fun.
any that have been eliminated so far?
No, it's an open book. Completely.
Because I think
Wisconsin will be tough.
Wisconsin's
tough. Really going to have to go the extra leg just because I know Big Cat will think I'm trolling if I'm getting upset with Wisconsin losses, which is fair because he is a diehard. But that doesn't mean they can't. That doesn't mean they can't go above and beyond. But it's definitely a curve. It's definitely a curve. They have a lot to overcome. But if I'm swayed, I'm swayed. I can't, you can't control how you feel.
The bitch of it is this would be the absolute perfect time to jump on the Wisconsin football, especially bandwagon, with Fickle being there and they've frankly played a boring brand of football. It's been successful.
I think all Big Ten is boring. Well, I guess Ohio State.
Come on.
True.
Well, we got some athletes. But you're right. Yeah, a lot of the Big Ten football is boring. But Wisconsin, it feels like there's some juice with Fickle coming in now, and this would be a great. But you can't do Wisconsin, dude. That there's no world because, like you just said, you're cosplaying a Wisconsin fan, and any bond, it's not gonna work. Dan is gonna fucking punch you in the face the second you're like, damn, dude, tough loss for our Badgers last night.
Right. Same with Michigan.
Our Badgers.
Yeah, Michigan's kind of the same thing with Dave. So those two are definitely. They have the steepest hill to climb. Mm-hmm. Everything else could be anywhere.
Are you thinking about the persona move of this? Are you thinking about Hank the Troll? What would he do? Because Ohio State, being a Boston guy who cheers for Duke basketball and Ohio State football is
and the
about
Cowboys a little bit.
And the Cowboys. That's about as troll as it gets, dude. That is you are number one pick in the scumbag sports fan draft at that point, I think, if that's your allegiances.
That's fair. But again, I really don't want to. I don't want to have bias going into it. I just want to it's who I identify with. What fan base is the most fun? There'll be different factors. I'm hoping to make it a series.
I think you gotta. I don't.
But I might go to a couple. If there's campuses that are within like 2 hours, I might mix in a Saturday.
I think you got to go old school Big Ten too. I gotta. Rutgers is out. Maryland's out. I think Nebraska has to be out. I'm telling you. Okay, I'm not telling you what you have to do. I'm telling you, I will be extremely disappointed if your conclusion you come to after all this is that you're an Oregon Ducks fan and you're like, that's my Big Ten team. I'm gonna say that's disgusting. That's not a Big Ten football team.
Right, but that's the thing. There's probably not a fun Oregon bar. There's probably not a great Rutgers bar.
I was told there are like Oregon bars, a lot of Oregon bars. There's a UCLA bar on Clark and Wrigleyville. I was like walking by a Cubs game. I saw UCLA flags. I think there are Oregon bars around here.
So that's the thing. If I go to an Oregon bar and they have a crazy game and we have a blast, they're in the Big Ten.
God
Rutgers, Big Ten.
That's what you're gonna do.
But
you're gonna go like USC on me.
We'll see.
Gonna go USC on me.
We'll see.
All right. Well. Oh, the other thing I want to talk to you about was the Celtics. I was catching heat. I meant to bring this up when I was saying
I was giving heat.
I wasn't. I'm trying to get in the full.
I was on your ass.
I think this was one of my misfires. Was like as soon as I got hired, I started talking shit about the Boston Celtics.
Not smart.
Not smart.
It triggered me.
But why? So help me understand how. Because I don't really fully. I never will fully understand East Coast people. Like it's just like I'm almost 40 at this point, and I'm no closer to understanding how East Coast people tick, and I never will get it. I go to New York, and I'm like, these people are out of their fucking minds. I got to get out of here. The Celtics fans in Game 6 against the Sixers, they boo the team off the floor. The Celtics. Okay, the Celtics lose at home in Game 6 against the Sixers.
They lost at home.
You boo the team off the floor. Now, I interpret the boo as you saying, this team is disgusting, get them out of my face. I fucking hate all of these guys. Then I'm just kind of like watching the playoffs, and I sit down and I am doing the show, and I'm like, I don't like the Celtics. I think, Tatum and Brown aren't it. I think, they're not going to get over the hump. And then I catch heat for this. I don't understand. That to me feels, I feel like I hated the Celtics in the same way that the Celtics fans hated the Celtics, but then like I was getting attacked for hating the Celtics, and it was very confusing.
No, you expect greatness. And you got to motivate your guys. Like, I think that's a common thing in sports. It's not like just Boston fans do that. That's you see that all around every sport.
All around the East Coast. That's very weird to boo your team when they're not eliminated from the playoffs.
But they lost at home. It's like everyone wanted to see a win. They lost. You got it. Like, what are you going to cheer them? You're going to give them a standing O for losing?
I don't like. I think there's a middle ground. I don't think you have to boo them or standing O. I think you can kind of just like personally hang your head, and you don't have to say anything, and you could just like let them hang their heads as they walk to the locker room, and you as a fan are just like, fuck, we let an opportunity slip away. But there's Game 7 in Philly, and it is Philly. It's the Sixers we're talking about here. This is not a powerhouse of a team, and it's James Harden we're talking about here. Like, we're not out of this thing yet. But that's not really what happened. You guys were like, yeah.
If you were walking off the court and there was nothing, you'd be like, these guys, they don't really care, so why should we?
Yeah.
But when you're getting booed, they're like, wow.
I know.
This city is so disappointed. We let them down. We can't let this happen.
You think the booing helped?
Yes. Absolutely. You've been on the court. I mean, would you be mad if you got booed after a loss?
But I would.
Would you be upset, or would you be like, yeah, we fucking lost. We suck.
If I was,
right. You would be booing yourself.
But I would feel. I would think like, to me, the booing of the players like builds a wall between the players and the fans, because like if I was a player on that team, I would be like, fuck these fans. Like, we've given them all of this, and now because we didn't win a game at home, you're gonna boo us. Like, you're not gonna support us because we lost, because we were missing shots. Like, it's a make or miss league. We missed tonight. We're not out of this thing, and now you're booing us.
I disagree. The series was still going. If it was a season-ending
that's
loss,
what I mean. If it was a season-ending, if this was Game 7 at home,
you don't boo.
That's when you boo.
No,
that's when you boo. The season's over.
No, but that's where the season's over. It's a grind. Only one team's gonna win. You applaud them for doing their best, and that's it. But
that's when I would boo. I would boo if
that's messed up, because it's like we just gave our entire, we just went through this whole season grinding.
I don't understand the East Coast.
We just went through this whole season grinding, and these fans are booing us.
I think as long as there is hope still alive, you don't introduce negative energy into the equation, and I don't know. I guess it's just nurture versus nature, and I'm more of like a nurturing sports fan. I think is what I'm learning. I'm a come on boys, pull your heads, come on, we can do this, boys. We're not dead yet. Let's go. Let's go, boys. Hard. Let's go. And the East Coast people are like, we lost. I fucking hate everyone on our team, and I'm gonna let them hear about it. But then. The other thing that I got in trouble for... I
mean, the Jaylen Brown and Jason, you kind of slipped that in. They're 20. They're not even 26 yet.
But they're
two of the best players in the league.
But
there's so much time for the hump.
Okay. All right. I have a feeling I'm going to be...
Jason Tatum is younger than Michael Jordan was when he won his first ring. He's younger than LeBron was when he won his first ring. Like, everyone acts like because they made it to the finals and they made it to a bunch of Eastern Conference finals, they haven't gotten over the hump. They're so young.
Yeah, they are.
And they've had all the coaching. Like, they went to the finals, got a new coach, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. That's not like everyone acts like they're a bad team and they're disappointing and they're not over the hump.
Boston fans act like they're the bad team. That's why you're booing them at home. That's what I was confused by. I interpreted the boos as you saying this team, like we went to the finals last year. Now we're going to get eliminated by the lowly Sixers. In your mind.
They also got smoked. It wasn't they didn't lose close.
But it's it's a modern NBA. That's how every game works now. You're not making threes, you get blown out. You are making threes, you don't get blown out.
But still, if it was a close game and they booed, that's one thing. I think they got beat by like 30. I'm stunned by this.
I can't believe you think you don't boo when like that. To me is if the Celtics, because if you're like tripping over your dick in the playoffs, I don't really care until you're officially out, and then once you're out, you're like, now it's time to boo because like. Now that the dream is dead. We thought that we were going to win the championship this year. Now we have been eliminated, so now we're going to boo. But yeah, you see it the completely opposite way. The other thing I got in trouble for around here was you go down 3-0 to the Heat, and then I was in New York when this happened, and the Celtics win Game 4, and I pop into the New York office, and I'm getting the social people are putting cameras in my face saying, "Are the Celtics going to come back?" And I was like the one dissenting voice that was like, why are we entertaining this? And then everyone was killing me. And then I ended up being right, Hank, and not a single goddamn Celtics fan that was killing me was like...
they did come back.
Not a single goddamn Celtics fan shrugged their shoulders and said, I guess Titus was right. I guess it was wrong of me to attack him for saying it wasn't going to happen.
You snuck in by the skin of your teeth by barely...
They blew him out!
Yeah, but they made it all the way back.
But that was part of it, is you can't win. No one's ever done this before.
Right, which is why it's an easy take to make.
But it wasn't. You
bet minus 12,000, and we're like, won.
I wasn't.
You were PFT. PFT did the same thing.
PFT did not do the same thing because
he bet them to win the series when they were
when
up 3-0.
When it was 3-0, and then when they lost Game 4, PFT came into the office and was like, "Shit." And he goes, Titus, do you think my bet is good? And I said, PFT, your bet is good. And then Dan was like, I don't know. And then like everyone's like, I don't know. And I was like, what are we doing here? Of course it's good. The Celtics aren't going to win, and I don't understand. That just confused me. I was right. How are you the bad guy if you're right? That's the part that confused me. Is like I had a take that the Celtics would not come back from down 3-0 to beat the Miami Heat. I was right. I was proven right, and somehow I was the asshole through it all. Explain that to me through a Boston lens. I don't really fully get that.
It's just not. It's easy to say they're not gonna come back if they're down 3-0. It's not. You shouldn't be applauded for making an obvious observation.
But no one else was saying that after they won Game 4. A lot of
people were saying that.
No one in the office was.
Well, yeah, but the office, again, it's Dave's company. People want Dave to be happy.
Cody, are you taking notes? Are you taking notes for me? Because I want to next year not make these. I'm going to make these same mistakes. When Jaylen Brown is dribbling off his foot in the second round of the playoffs, and it's impossible not to. I don't understand. I don't know. That's going to be a problem, Hank.
I have a question for you.
I'm going to have to figure this out.
I have a question for you as a basketball player. Division I, played with NBA players.
Keep going.
And I could be wrong about this.
Oh no! So this feels sarcastic. Stop.
No. I wish I knew this as a fact, but I just think it could be wrong. Mike Conley, friend of yours.
Yeah.
Was he always a great shooter?
No.
But he
was not.
developed his shot over time, and now he's a great shooter. Everyone talks about Jaylen Brown can't dribble left. So that to me is something in the offseason that you can learn and get better at. They're like, it's a statement of fact, Jaylen Brown will never be able to dribble left. That's just a coaching point. It's something to work on in the offseason. It will come. Mike Conley was not a good shooter. That was not the strength of his game.
Yep.
Now he's one of the best shooters in the league.
But do you think that a guy who just signed a contract where he's going to make like $70 million a year is now motivated to grind in the gym and work on his skill set, that, work on his weaknesses?
Yeah, he doesn't want to get booed again. Oh. That's the thing. It's like you can have all the money in the world, but you can't shake the feeling off of getting booed on your home court.
Oh my God, I'm digging myself a bigger hole, I think.
Also, in a couple of years, that contract's not going to be that crazy.
And then the other thing I kept pointing out, which is, again, I don't understand why this makes me the bad guy, but the Celtics have won one title in like 40 years, and I think the expectation that you should win titles is absurd. The Celtics, I think at this point, the Celtics, like if you're a Celtics fan, you're like, we should win a title every year. Which is kind of that was why I was upset about the booing, because I was like, this
every
feels
team in Boston
entitled.
should win the title every year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a little insane to me. Just because like Tom Brady was your quarterback doesn't mean that, like the Boston, like the fucking Premier League lacrosse team, or like the New England Revolution, that doesn't mean that they should win the title in MLS because Tom Brady played quarterback for the Patriots.
I would disagree. It's a city of champions. It's Tom Brady taught this city how to win. When from freshman year of high school, I saw a Celtics championship, Red Sox championship, Bruins championship,
right,
and then the Patriots won my first year at Barstool. So that was, and obviously, since I was 12, I've seen 15. It's just you just come to expect it. But the Celtics also, they're always they had the big three. That was probably a letdown. They probably should have won 2. Injuries kind of fucked them. But they were always in it. They were always a perennial favorite. Eastern Conference Finals, lost in the finals. They rebuilt, and then they've been in, when Jason Tatum was 20, 21, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been in 3 or 4 Eastern Conference Finals. It's not that crazy to expect them to get over the hump.
Yeah, but
they will.
You should expect, again, it's just like a difference between like the polite people from the Midwest that are good, hardworking, decent people, and the scumbags on the East Coast, is that I think you cheer on the boys, but you don't say it, like you don't, when they fall short of winning. There's one team that wins the championship every year. Not every, like the Warriors are going into every year saying we expect to win the championship.
Every team
The
should
Lakers
be.
are expecting to win the champion, but not all of them can. So like, yeah.
That's why you don't boo after the season ends, because not only one team can win, and they tried, but it's like, it's good to have the expectation of winning. When 2008, what was your preseason ranking? 2008?
What, and we win the Final Four? Yeah, like we were, I don't know, like 4th or 5th or something like that.
But did you think you were going to win?
Yeah, but then I don't think we look back on that season and say we fucking suck because we didn't win. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's unique to Boston. I think the Ohio State basketball team in 2007, we lost to Florida. We look back, we're like in that moment even, we looked at it and we said they're a better team, frankly, and like they won it last year, and like hell of a season for us. We're very happy, and I think that's what confuses me, is like there's no perspective, and I think it's just like, when the second you don't win a championship, you just boo the shit out of your team, and you're like, you fucking assholes. How did we not? God damn it. Tom would have never let this happen. And that is like weird to me, where it's like, you should expect to win the championship, but when they don't, at that point, what do you do? And I think that like the sane sports fan goes, it was a fun ride. We had a fun team. We'll be back next year. And I feel like the Boston Celtics, and I'm more concerned about the Celtics fans part of it. Like the Sox and the Patriots, what I was just focusing on the Celtics part of it. I was losing my mind because I'm like, you've literally won one championship in like 40 years. How can you go into every season saying it's like championship or bust? That doesn't make any sense.
Because we're always
it's
on the
happened
brink.
one time.
Even against the Warriors series, our superstar player had a really bad series. If he had a superstar performance that series, we easily could have won. We were up 2-1. It's not that crazy. It's not like the Warriors were the better team. They were the better team, but it didn't feel like we gave them our A game and lost. It felt like we were a little bit rattled, a little bit, bright lights got to us. But it's not crazy to say that, a couple things go a couple different ways. Jason Tatum plays a little bit better. We win.
Yeah. No,
Jaylen Brown makes some free throws.
I think it's fine. I think next year the Celtics should expect to win the championship. I do. I just think that like if Giannis scores like 60 points in an elimination game, and knocks you out of the playoffs in the Eastern Finals, I don't think you should boo the Boston Celtics off the floor.
If the series is over, I agree.
Or like a game, if you lose, I don't know. It's just weird.
If it's a close game, they shouldn't boo. If they get,
but you're right. To your point,
if they get blown out, and it looks like that's the thing. It's game 6. It's a do or die game at home. it looks like they gave up, and it's like, why do we give up on
I
this
will
season?
say, if I was in your shoes, I would think that it worked. So like I see your point. Like if I was a Celtics fan and we booed them game 6 and they went out to Philly and won game 7, I'd be like, it definitely worked. That was me. I'm not. So like I'm looking at it from my perspective and like, this is insane. But
oh no, that's the opposite. Take that back.
Oh,
In Philly, they gave
Trey Turner an ovation. That's exactly
what.
Yeah. Thank you, Hank. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sports sound.
Point me. Thank you. All right. Well, this was fun. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm not sure what I learned with the Boston stuff. I think I'm just like jaded from being.
I think you're jealous.
Well, it's honest to God. Like if you work in sports media and you're not from Boston and have no connection to Boston, you just get beaten down by it because this isn't a Barstool problem. This wasn't just a Ringer problem because like obviously I've worked for like the 2 biggest Boston sports guys that exist in sports media.
Think that's a coincidence, or do you think it's
maybe
Tom Brady?
But that's what I'm saying, because it's not even just Ringer and Barstool. When I was at Fox, it was the same shit that like half my bosses were Boston people.
Greatness.
Yeah, and it just becomes like it just becomes exhausting to like work in basketball media where I have to talk about the Boston Celtics who've won as many championships as the Toronto Raptors in the last 40 years. That's just for me. I'm just like, frankly, they're a really good franchise, but why is it that my bosses? Now I get it with Dave and you and all this, but like that, I'd have that thought at Fox sometimes. I'm like, why the fuck do I got to talk about the Celtics all the time? What's going on here? What's going on? And the answer is that like half of goddamn sports media people are from Boston, and if you're not in that club, you're not jealous. You're just like, this is insane. This is you're watching like the Scientologists from the outside. I'm watching Going Clear right now, and I'm watching all of you boo the Sixers, or boo the Celtics after they lose to the Sixers.
What's the difference between them and the Lakers?
And I'm watching the Lakers win.
Lakers won 1 championship, same amount of time. Bubble doesn't count.
What?
Oh yeah, I guess
Kobe
whatever.
won 3. Kobe won 5.
All right, take that back.
They've won
Since
literally
2008.
6.
Since 2008, they've won 1. Celtics won.
We gotta stop. I'm gonna dig myself a bigger hole. This was great. I want to help. Can I help? Because I want to work myself into the fold more. I want to get involved more. I don't want to hijack your content. Maybe I can work behind the camera some way. But can I help with the Big Ten thing somehow? I don't know. Can I just come with you? I don't have to be on
you
camera.
can be. I think what I'm gonna do is
I'm just fascinated by that. I want to see what you see about these Big Ten schools through your eyes. I want you to like point out like, man, these Iowa fans are X, and these Illinois fans, it sort of feels. I just want to see it in real time.
Yeah, I gotta look at the schedule and try and make a rough plan. But what I kind of want to do, I will cosplay as an Ohio State fan and go with fellow Ohio State fans to an Ohio State bar and other fan groups, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll definitely go with you to Ohio State for sure. I mean, that'll be.
How far away is Ohio State
from here? Like 5 hours probably. A 5-hour drive. Yeah. But there's a lot of bars around here.
Yeah,
and we can. The problem with being an Ohio State fan though, but this is why I think you might be drawn to it. Hank.
They win.
We win.
I like winning.
We win. God damn it, did we win? But we have a very entitled fan base. We have a fan base that only shows up, and I say this lovingly. So Ohio State people, don't kill me. I'm the same way. I do this on my couch. For 90% of the schedule, we just kind of shrug our shoulders and we're like, we got Maryland. I don't give a fuck about Maryland. I don't really care. And we just kind of go through the motions. And the Michigan game and the Penn State game are really the only games that we get any juice to. Like Michigan State, we're gonna beat the shit out of them. Who cares?
I'll say this: the last thing. I'm sorry for interrupting. That's how the Patriots were my whole life. It was like it's just the
Jets.
It's a warm up for the playoffs. Everything is just a warm up for the playoffs. Once the playoffs start, the season starts. I'm very excited for this Patriots season because for the first time, basically in my entire life, we're going to be spoiler. Everyone's counting us out. Every game matters, and every game we can like be the underdogs and play spoiler. So it's the regular season is going to be a lot more fun. Where it's like even if the Patriots would win by like 7 and not play great, they would get crushed.
Yeah.
And Ohio State's the same way, where if they have a 30-point spread and they win by 14, people are like, oh, they're not that
it's
good.
True. When we play, sorry TJ, but Rutgers is always the example. They're in our division. We play them every year. When we play Rutgers every year, nothing good can happen. It's either we win by 1,000 and it's boring, and you're like, this is stupid, and you turn the game off halfway through the third quarter because the backups are in, or we don't win by 1,000. You're like, oh my God, we suck. Why are we not up by 1,000? And there's no in between. And it's like that for 90% of the schedule, unless it's Penn State or Michigan, basically, or the playoff game. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you might. We'll work on.
Maybe is the Penn State game early?
No, it's late. That's the problem. It's like it's not super late though. The Penn State game is I forget what the schedule is. It's like mid-season. It's like 65% of the way through the season.
Because I do want to go for games where like the fan base is revved up.
Yeah, that would be the game to go to in Columbus this year. It's Penn State.
Well,
yeah,
even just but the bar scene, it's like everyone, like you said, everyone's going to be geared up for it. That's where you want the
Notre
energy.
Dame. This is not me talking shit. Notre Dame, do not throw this back in my face. If Notre Dame beats us, Notre Dame looks very good. I'm just being honest. I don't think Notre Dame. Ohio State fans hate Notre Dame. We want to beat the shit out of Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame on this schedule, the Notre Dame game is like a game that like Ohio State fans have circled as like that is the biggest get, So but that's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I'm curious about that because we play Notre Dame in like a couple weeks, but I don't know. It's a big game, but we also beat them. We beat them every time we play them. So like there's really Michigan is the one obviously because they especially now they beat us twice. But,
I can't do that though. I can't be an Ohio State fan against Michigan.
You
That's the
can't
other
do
thing.
that.
You got to try and do like.
I know.
You got to try and build up some goodwill before that, so that way all the goodwill you lose by being an Ohio State fan, then you're just kind of back to even, and then you can work your way back up.
I don't have any common ground.
But if you start at 0 and then you lose all, like
that's
then
what I'm saying.
you just got to get positive so you can get back to even, and then go back positive.
I'm just stacking L's with Dave since I've signed my contract. That's really all that I've done.
Be a Patriots fan.
Except for the one gif of us when we were watching the March Madness stream and we both fixed our hair and moved our hat at the same time.
That's the other thing, not gambling or not being a huge. That's the other thing where it's like if you're a big gambler, then.
Did I tell you? I think I told you a story, but maybe not. The first day in Columbus at the gambling stream, Dave was like, "Titus, what's your play of the day?" And I was kind of prepared for it. I think it was Kentucky. I forget who Kentucky played, but I was like, Kentucky's sort of a meme right now, how bad they are, and everybody's piling on Cal, and like they say Kentucky's washed and this and that. And I was like, I think Kentucky's actually like it's do or die for Cal this year. I think they're going to win at least one game. I believe in Kentucky tonight. And Kentucky covered. I think it was Kentucky. And my butthole like just unclenched, and I was like, oh, thank God. And I go back to the hotel, and I was like, oh my God, that was a nightmare. Because like Dave's high-fiving me, and he's like, great pick. And then the next morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, whew, I'm so glad that that's over. And I'm in line at Starbucks and Dave, I just hear a voice behind me like, hey. And I turn around and it's Dave and he's like, what's your play today? and I just go, I don't know. I haven't really, I thought my out would be, I haven't really looked at the board. And he's like, how the fuck have you not looked at the board? He's like, you're a college basketball guy. How have you not looked at the board? It's the NCAA tournament. How have you not? And I was just like, oh no.
Doesn't end.
There was no
it's day one.
There was no like, hey man, thanks for the great pick last night. It was just like, next pick, give me the next one. And I was like, oh boy. So I'll do better at that. But all right. Thanks, Hank. You're the best. I think this went well. Yeah, I don't know.
It's fun.
I gotta work myself into the fold. I gotta stop taking all these L's. I'll do better. We gotta get this new office open.
Yeah,
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, we do.
All right, man.
All right, thanks.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Cars.com. Wherever life takes you next and whoever you're looking to be, there's a car for that on Cars.com. Whether you're moving from the suburbs to the city, so you want a smaller, sportier car, or you're expanding your family and you want a safer option, or you've taken up snowboarding and you need more cargo space for the gear, or you're someone like me that can't make up your damn mind. I keep saying I want a big truck, but I've been stuck in traffic so much on Interstate 90 here in Chicago, which is the one that's under construction. It is the one that goes to O'Hara Airport. It is an absolute nightmare. I picked someone up from the airport on Sunday evening. I thought there would be no traffic. I thought everybody would be in bed. I thought I would just zoom in and zoom out and be on my merry way. Not the case. I'm stuck in traffic. It's got me rethinking everything. Maybe I do need to get like more fuel efficient car if I'm going to be sitting in traffic in Chicago. Maybe, I don't know. I'm rethinking everything. Here's what I do know. I know Cars.com is going to help me through this process because they have deal badges. They have advanced search filters that are going to help me narrow down the car that I'm looking for. Like I said about the deal badges, the deal badges will identify the best deals. So I know if I'm getting a good deal or not on these cars. I'll find the best deal. I'll find the car that I want. There are over 2 million cars for 2 million possibilities on this thing to meet your changing needs, and up to 50,000 cars are added daily to Cars.com, so you know that you will find a car you love. Find your next possibility on Cars.com. Where to next? All right, thank you to Hank for making time. He's a busy man, TJ. To get Hank off the golf course and into a studio for an hour is a very tough ask. He only does it for really Dan and PFT. Those are the only two guys he'll do it for. And for him to do that for me, I greatly appreciate it. I wasn't joking, by the way. I was being serious about the me just stacking L's. Like I got to work on this. We got to figure this out because I think I saw like this. I got a bad edit on the stool scenes, by the way. Not really, because I said, but I don't know. I think like my problem, TJ, is I'm just like too dry. I don't know. Like I think I'm obviously joking, and people don't pick up that I'm joking. And that's not to say that like I'm some like fucking comedic genius here. I just like am too dry with the delivery sometimes. But on the stool scenes, Hannah here in the office like presented me with an award, and then I said, I don't know. I was just like, man, I should have gone to the awards. I just kind of gave like they surprised me with this. I just gave like a terrible speech. And then someone said something about like next week. And then I made a comment like, I won't be working here next week. And I said it as though like that Dave was going to fire me tonight. I was like, yeah, Dave's going to see that I was the one guy that skipped out on this and he's going to fire me. And then I had a handful of people that are like, boy, is he trying to like quit his job? Is he trying to like not work at bar? Like, what's going on with this guy? Like everything that comes out of his mouth is like he doesn't want to work here, and I just keep shooting myself in the foot. I don't understand how it keeps happening because
I don't think anybody needs this move to happen more than you do.
I need it so bad, TJ. I need it so bad. This is why, by the way, it's a very concentrated effort that since I've gotten to Chicago, I've had like basically every coworker on the show to talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them in the fold, or not get them in I'm trying to get it in the fold. I'm like, Nick and KB, come on the show. Brandon, come on the show. Like every time. Rico, come on the show. I want to be a Barstool guy. I thought it would just kind of be like a natural insertion into this company, and it's my fault. Like I know why it's happening. It's like I keep fucking up, and it was not smart to shit on the Celtics as soon as I got hired. And it's not. I've scored a lot of own goals. I will be honest, but I also think that there's like a miscommunication with my delivery at times where I say things that I think are very obvious jokes that are going to be read as very obvious jokes, and then somewhere along the line, it's not read as a joke, and I just go, oh no. How did this happen?
Also, as far as like getting a bad edit goes, like your type of the way you explain things is sometimes not conducive to like a sub 1 minute clip.
Right.
So sometimes the whole context will not fit in whatever the final edit is.
Well, Brandon
You'll go
called me
on
out
it for
this.
5 minutes about how serious you are about something, but when they cut that down to 10 seconds, you don't get like all the details.
I think I did that. I mean, Brandon got on me about this when he came on the show that I ramble. I know I do it. I'm a podcaster. That's what we do. But when they presented me with that award, I brought out like a laundry list of, I was like, so here's the story. Here's what happened. Here's everybody. And I cracked my knuckles and I told the story of what happened. Cause it was very important to me that everybody understood that like, I did not skip the awards. I genuinely thought I was doing, I went back. I didn't want to call Hank out on it, by the way, but I went back and I found the text that Hank sent me a screenshot. Gaz had texted Hank, is Titus coming to the awards? No pressure. If he does, no pressure. It's not a big deal. Just trying to get a head count. Hank takes a screenshot of that, sends it to me, and I just said like I wasn't planning on it. I think I said like I had family in town. I was like, no, I just kind of, no, don't worry about me. And then that was it. And then Hank didn't respond. TJ, someone should have said pressure. You should not have said no pressure. You should have said pressure. You should have been like,
I will say.
Hey Titus,
somebody
like,
put
pressure.
this out there. There will be future events that you can redeem yourself. You guys got into this a little bit in the interview. Like the next one is the Black Friday stream. Somebody tweeted about this. I saw a tweet. Like, make sure you're a part of that.
I will be there. I will be there. I will be there.
Yes. I'm gonna be there no matter what. Yes,
I'll be the first employee there, and I'll be. I didn't.
Yeah.
Dude, I played it out in my head, and I'm sorry to belabor the point, and I know that people don't care anymore, but this is just eating me up. This awards thing's eating me up, and I know that nobody cares, but I do, and it's my show. I honestly, I played it out in my head over and over and over, and I was like, I'm going to show up at this award show, and there's going to be 8 people there, and Dave is going to be like, you fucking loser. What are you doing here? Why would you come here? What made you think that you belong? I honestly thought I was being polite. That's just, I don't know. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm just kind of like, what I think is politeness gets interpreted as disinterest, because I just say, like, I'm going to remove myself. And this happens a lot in social settings as well, which is why I'm like kind of a terrible friend. And I've talked about it on part of my take. Like, I don't text my friends because I don't want to bother them. And I'm like, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be in the way at the award show. I'm going to stand over here. But then on the outside, you see it and you're like, is he putting himself on an island? Anyway, I don't know. We got to fix it. We'll fix it. Okay. Moving on. Shoutouts. Let's wrap this thing up. First of all, there's a chance that by the time people are listening to this, that the ACC has added Cal, Stanford, and SMU, which is I'm kind of over talking about realignment, so I don't want to really spend a ton of time on it. We'll wait till it happens if I'm going to talk about it really at all. But like, what a wild turn of events that would be. I just like every time Cal and Stanford and Oregon State and Washington State at this point, the Pac-4 that are left, every time any of these schools get mentioned in realignment stuff and conferences that want them or don't want them or anything else, I go back to what Jeff Schwartz said on this show, which is like, how in the world, if Cal and Stanford are desirable to the point that the ACC thinks that if we add Cal and Stanford, that's kind of our life raft, like we won't dissolve as a conference at a time where there's so much uncertainty. So let's add Cal and Stanford to bolster our lineup here. How can 10 of the 12 Pac-12 schools at this point be desirable enough that other conferences want to take them? But when you band all of them together, it's a conference that doesn't work. I don't get it. It's literally just like the people in charge of the Pac-12 are that incompetent, I guess. I guess that's my only takeaway. But like, how can USC and UCLA and Oregon and Washington, all of these schools mattered so much that like the Big 12 was like Colorado, Arizona, we need you. You're going to help us. We need you guys are big brands. Please come to our conference. Cal, Stanford, please come to our conference. What if all those schools made their own conference and they all stayed on the West Coast? Boy, that would be a pretty good conference, and it feels pretty lucrative because you got 10 programs that other conferences want. I don't know. It's very confusing to me. I'll never really fully understand that. And honestly, if someone started to explain it to me, my eyes would just glaze over, and I'd be like, don't care. Boring. Moving on. But yeah, that might be happening. Pretty crazy. Atlantic Coast Conference. We'll have schools on the West Coast, so that's fun.
They just have to call themselves the All Coast Conference at that point.
Yeah. I mean, we already kind of. I saw someone said that the numbers already don't make sense. So why don't we just, the next step is like the words in the conferences don't make sense. But we've kind of already broken that seal with the Big East has Creighton. There's a school in Omaha, Nebraska that's in the Big East, you know. And I think Chicago State was in the WAC at one point. I don't know if they still are, but the Chicago State was in the Western Athletic Conference, which is pretty wild. So. What else? Shout out to I was gonna say something about the World Cup. Truly, nobody cares. I would just say that the Anthony Edwards face of the NBA scenario that Sam and I played out, I think it's like kind of dead on arrival, but also nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter. But I think it could still happen if it like the final game if he blows up. But like right now, it's Austin Reeves' show, man. It's like Austin Reeves and Tyrese Halliburton have taken over the World Cup in terms of like what is getting the people that are watching it are excited about our second unit. That's it's a good problem to have. The second unit is like the backup quarterback, I think. When you're the second unit on Team USA, everybody just loves looking at the bench and being like, why is that guy not getting more minutes? And that's kind of what's going on. But it's a good problem to have. We're very deep. But Canada looks really good. Canada looks awesome. And France is out. And I'm excited about that because I hate the French basketball team. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say, get Rudy Gobert out of my face. I think Victor Wembanyama is an awesome kid. He wasn't on this team, so like this kind of is irrelevant, but I'm just looking ahead to the future. I think Victor Wembanyama is a good dude. Everything about him seems like a great person. I am going to root for him, but I'm very vocal about him being like the canary in the coal mine here. And so as far as like, I'll cheer for Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs. When Wembanyama is wearing the French, when we're playing him in the Olympics and he's wearing the France on the jersey, and Rudy Gobert, who literally started COVID, people forget. COVID did not exist until Rudy Gobert started touching microphones.
Touch those microphones, yep.
Yeah. If you look, hey, everybody, look back on those years of your life where you're like, this fucking sucks, and this was like the worst time for so many people. Yeah. Those COVID years, it's Rudy Gobert's fault. So there you go. I'm going to cheer so hard against them, but I was so happy to see them lose to Latvia. That was so funny. They're out. They're out of the World Cup. I thought they could win it, and now they're out. You stupid.
Is Wembanyama hurt? Why wasn't he on this team?
No, he's just it's like the same thing as all the other guys that aren't playing. I think it's just like
I feel like that's a huge miss from whoever either makes those rosters or is in charge of Victor Wembanyama. Like, if you want people to care about it, that's the guy to make people care about it.
I know. Yeah. It's weird though because like Luka's playing. I think it might just be. I don't think it's a blanket state because part of it's like, is it just like some guys are more into the idea of representing their country than others? But then like, I don't think that's fair because I don't think it's like, the guys that aren't on USA. I don't know. Everyone has a different thing. I think Wembanyama is probably rightfully, he had the long season in the league he was playing in, which is why they shut him down at Summer League. And I think he's probably just like wants to chill for a little bit, which makes sense. But yeah, I want to live in a world where the FIBA World Cup matters just because it makes more sense to me for that to matter than the Olympics. Well, like I told Sam, I love the Olympics. I want to still care about the Olympics, basketball I'm talking about, but it's just, it gets a little, there's a lot on your plate and when the Summer Olympics are on and you're flipping through the women's gymnastics and the swimming and all that sort of stuff. That, to have a standalone basketball event where you're like, we're crowning one world champion in basketball. I wish people would care about it more, but they definitely don't. ESPN doesn't even care about it. They're putting all the games other than USA on ESPN Plus. I tried to watch Canada, France, and I turned it to ESPN and they're showing fucking Formula One practice. It wasn't even qualifying. It was practice. We're talking about practice. They were showing practice. They're showing these cars practicing. Not a game, not qualifying, not even qualifying. It was practice. And meanwhile, Canada is running France off the floor. So, what else? What other shout-outs? Oh, I want to talk to go ahead.
I sent you a video of Jokic dancing while we were still talking about international basketball players. I don't know if you saw this video.
I did see this.
It's just absurd how gigantic.
See, that's what I mean. Like,
he looks like he's 25 feet tall.
Like Jokic obviously cares about his home country, and like Jokic is Serbia even in this thing though? I don't know if they are. Yeah, I just think some guys want to play in it and represent their country, and and some guys are just like, I want to just go to my horse farm and dance, So.
Don't we all?
I'd be remiss if I don't bring Cody on. Cody, does that microphone work?
Does it work?
Yeah, it works. All right, get on the microphone. So Cody's our junior editor on the Mark Titus show. He's made a few appearances through the 6 months, whatever, the 51 episodes. Cody's now in Chicago. He's in the flesh. I'm looking at him in the eyeballs right now. TJ, this is your last show not in Chicago, correct?
Correct. I moved.
You're going to be in Chicago.
Today as you listen to this.
Yeah. So, but Cody's here in the flesh. This is his first show in Chicago. This is the first time I'm looking at Cody's eyeballs. And I had two topics I wanted to bring up with you, Cody. Number one, did you go to the Bills-Bears game, the preseason game that you were trying to get Big Cat to go with you to? And did Dan go with you?
Number one, I did go to the Bills-Bears game. Incredible. Bears, unfortunately, took the L. Had some good food, great seats, stadium's electric. Bills got the W. It was awesome.
Who did you go with?
I went with my girlfriend.
Oh, nice.
Just the two of us, no Big Cat, no friends. Just me and my
Can I bring up a tweet that you had while you were there that I wanted to ask about?
Sure.
Buffalo Bills versus Chicago Bears. Nothing better than preseason football. What about regular season football?
I think that the preseason passion and grit that the players get to express on that field, there's nothing like it. Regular season, it's like, all right, everybody expects that. But those guys are fighting for a roster spot.
Okay. You're just a big Hard Knocks fan. Cody, I just got done ranting about how I think sometimes I'm too dry and it doesn't translate. And I guess that's like why I wanted to talk to you, because I'm trying to figure out, I'm still trying to calibrate like the chemistry between the two of us, because we're not there yet. We're just not. If I'm being completely honest, we're not. And I as Hank was saying, you're young. I still think I'm young. The way Hank was talking about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, we can develop this. I think we can work on this. But I'm just trying to get a sense of your vibe. And I think now that we're, living in the same city and working out of the same studio, this is going to be a lot better. But I need to know, just for my own sanity and for moving forward, like how to deal with this relationship here. When you got to Chicago, now let me pull up the text. Let me pull up this text. This was Tuesday at 10:43 p.m. I'm crawling into bed. I'm an old-ass man. It's Tuesday at 10:43. I have had my supper hours ago. I've had my nice warm glass of milk. I'm tucked in. I'm rubbing my tummy and dozing off to sleep. And my phone blows up. and I see a text from Cody that says, officially a Chicago resident, comma, Wrigleyville fucks. And then it's a picture, TJ. I should send you this picture. I'm going to send this to TJ so he knows, he has the context. It is a picture of a bus stop in Wrigleyville. It's just a bus stop. It's not Wrigley Field. It's not like the strip of bars that like get rowdy at times in Wrigleyville. It's a picture of a sign of a bus stop on Clark. And then there's like a billboard for like the Gran Turismo movie. And that's it. And that's really, do you have the picture, TJ?
Yeah.
He sent me this picture and said Wrigleyville fucks. And I guess like my question, Cody, was like, this was funny, right? Like this was like you were trying to be funny. Please tell me that this was like a joke, that you weren't like, you know what goes hard is this bus stop in Wrigleyville. You sent me a picture of a bus stop and you said Wrigleyville fucks.
Yeah.
What farm are you from that you thought that like this was? All right, I don't want to shit on it too much. So you were just like, as you look at it now, do you realize like that's not that great of a picture of Wrigleyville?
Yeah. I was just that was like my first 10 minutes here. You were talking highly of Wrigleyville.
Okay. I feel bad for it. God damn.
Probably a misjudgment on my part.
This is gonna happen a lot, I think, TJ. Now I feel bad. Now he's giving me puppy dog eyes. Now I'm
I
like,
can't even see you.
No,
we're good. I'm excited to be here. I think
I understood. Like I think I'm excited to have you here. It's going to be very fun. The show is going to be a ton of fun, and I love both of you guys. What little I know of you, but so like I'm happy for you. I am happy for my guys. You're one of my guys, Cody. TJ's one of my guys. I bought TJ the Switch. I want to take you to a Cubs game, Cody. We got to go on a date. I promised we would do that. If you don't want to, we don't have to. But I want you to be happy, and I thought, yeah, you're happy. You went to Wrigleyville. You're this is like the first time you're living in a new city, and you're out on your own. All of these things are great. The picture you chose to like highlight what was awesome about Wrigleyville, it had me confounded, and I was like, I don't. If there's a joke here, I'm not really fully picking up on it, but I it's kind of funny, I guess, but it wasn't a joke.
Yeah, no, I'll take that out. I'm just gonna keep stacking.
So constructive criticism. We're gonna do constructive criticism. Next time, like take a picture of like the Cubs marquee that says home of Wrigley Field. Next time, take a picture of like just any bar. It doesn't even have to be like a good one. Just like any bar. Just like outside of any bar. You're just like at a bar and you take a picture, or like take a picture of your beer. You have a Coors Light in front of you at a bar. Take a picture of that. A bus stop is probably not a great way to convey like this neighborhood fucks. That's all. Just constructive criticism. We'll work on it. We're fine, Cody. We're good. That's fine. You're not fired. It's all good. He's like, damn it, I moved to Chicago. Show 1, I'm getting shit on. Anything else? Do you have anything?
Mostly
Cody?
Sports. Follow Mostly Sports on
Sports.
Twitter. We have a Twitter account now at Mostly Sports.
At Mostly Sports on Twitter. Yeah. September 12th, launch date. Still don't know the time slot. I was gonna bring up that subject with Hank, but I felt like Rico and Brandon did a great job on the case race of hashing that out. So I don't feel like I really need to.
And after the case race, off camera, even louder than on camera.
Oh my God, I sat there and I watched the case race, and I'm just like, I can't believe these two drunk morons with face paint are kind of dictating my career, which is that's an exaggeration, but for the purposes of I was like, I can't believe these two idiots are arguing, and it's gonna like dictate what time I have to wake up every single day. It's gonna dictate my schedule. What else did I have? Virginia basketball team went whitewater rafting today. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, what happened before they won the national championship is they went on a whitewater rafting trip that Ty Jerome points to as like the turning point in the team building that led to Virginia winning a national championship. Now the question is, does this mean the Virginia Wahoos, the Virginia Cavaliers, are going to win the national championship, or was the first time around just setting a precedent that once you lose to a 16 seed, that a team will lose to a one seed will lose to a 16 seed, then Virginia will go whitewater rafting, then the team that lost to the 16 seed will go on to win the national championship. What I'm saying is maybe everyone's going to see this and to say Virginia national championship incoming. but maybe we read that situation wrong and it's actually Purdue. Maybe Virginia going on a whitewater rafting trip is actually good for Purdue. I don't know. We'll see. This is why we have to watch the games. Is that it? Oh, Winning Time. We got a Rambus debut. The Rambus character debuted on Winning Time. He had a line. He had 2 lines, actually. There was one that was like more of a voiceover. He was talking to Jason Segel, Paul Westhead, and it was just showing his back. It wasn't really acting. It was just a voiceover. He said, "Coach, am I getting minutes tonight? I haven't touched the court. Am I going to play this season?" So I guess I could do that if you want me to, but in my mind, that wasn't really acting. It was just like the shot of the back of his head, and then he said that. So I didn't really think that, but I think that was a big deal. But our introduction, I'm not bitter. I'm not jealous. I'm not angry. This man's introduction as a character, TJ, the first time he gets a line in this show is he's opposite Adrian Brody, who has won an Oscar for the best actor. The man who won a fucking Oscar at age 29 playing the pianist. The pianist. Let me enunciate that a little bit. In The Pianist, Adrian Brody wins the Oscar. That is who he gets the guy who gets the Rambus role. That's his first line. Is Adrian Brody comes out and says, I wrote down the line. "Hey, Rambus, congrats. You made the team. You're a Laker." And then Rambus says, "Cool. Far out, man." That was it. That was the line. That was all he got. I felt like Brody carried the scene. I did. And I don't mean to shit on this guy that cast as Rambus. Nothing against that guy. I'm not bitter. I sort of felt like Brody carried it. I felt like, I didn't really get much out of Rambus. But there you go. There's the line.
I feel like do you feel like you could have
I just did it
better than he could have?
He said, "Cool. Far out, man." I mean, I just did it. I literally just did it right there.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
All
cool. Far out, man.
Fine. Yeah.
I can give you a couple different takes.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Far out. Yeah. Yeah, like I'm versatile, dude. I got range, baby.
Right.
And rest in peace, Bob Barker. That's it. Are you guys old enough to God, I sound so old when starting a sentence like that's bad, but are you old enough to appreciate Bob Barker?
Oh, yeah. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I got bronchitis in like 5th grade, and I learned about daytime TV and late night TV, and it was Bob Barker during the day and Conan O'Brien at night. And I was like, this is changing my life forever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Bob Barker was great. He was great. Yeah. Price is Right was awesome, but Bob Barker was also awesome. His I don't know. I got nothing else to add. I mean, at this point, it's been a few days anyway, and I think everybody's kind of said all that needs to be said about Bob Barker. But yeah, it's core memories for men of a certain age is watching Bob Barker on a sick day at school. Drew Carey's not bad, by the way. I think Drew Carey, when he started, people got really upset. That's how you know you're a legend, is like when the guy that follows you, everybody hates when there's really no reason to hate him, But when Drew Carey started, I remember people being like, "This guy sucks at this. Bring back Bob." But Drew Carey's fine. As it turns out, like all you're really doing is just like
hugging somebody after
a new car.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a pretty easy job to be like, you win a bunch of money. Congrats. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah. I thought Bob Barker did a good job of like he encouraged the contestants and was like on their team, but he would also like when there were psychopath contestants or like just when there were if when I was watching at home and I was like, damn, this contestant is off their rocker, Bob Barker did a good job of like winking at the camera for those of us watching at home, where he was like, "I'm on your team. I hope you win this car." But God damn, you guys see this contestant that's trying to win this car?
Yeah.
And like he walked that line pretty well, where he was like, "I'm going to make fun of you to your face while also cheering for you," but also, I don't know. He was great. He's the best game show host of all time, in my opinion. So, all right, that's it. That's the show. Thank you again to Hank. Thank you to Cody for being a good sport, being in here. Brighter days ahead, Cody. Do you want to go to a Cubs game? Do you want to or not?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to know. I'll get us some good tickets. We'll make a date out of it. We might make content out of it. I don't know. We'll come on the show and we can recap the date. We'll stop at all the bus stops in Wrigleyville.
That's my favorite thing.
And then we'll go to a Cubs game, and then we'll have a great time, and it'll be great. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you on Thursday.